About the state of basketball is Johannesburg Basketball Association President Cabby Magongwa. A very good evening and welcome to Newzroom Afrika. Good to be chatting to you once again. So Tigers announced back in August that their CEO Raphael Edwards has resigned and they won't be taking part in the national championships. Their place in the qualifying tournament is taken now by MBB. How much of a loss is that for the game in the country?
Hey, Valen, and good evening to you and the viewers. It's a huge loss. It's a huge loss because Tigers showed us what it would be like to actually participate in the biggest league in Africa, the BAL. And I suppose MBB has taken over from them, but everybody understands and knows the level of basketball MBB needs to play in order to really make South Africa proud.
What is it going to mean that South Africa are actually hosting the BAL finals? It's a huge event.
It's huge. For us, it's like in basketball, it's like we're hosting the World Cup. Obviously, it's not the World Cup. It's the biggest league in Africa, and it's coming to South Africa. I mean, you can imagine what it was like during the Soccer World Cup. There was a lot of excitement around soccer. And for me, it feels like BAL coming to the playoffs and the finals playing in Pretoria in South Africa. For me, in basketball, feels exactly like that. It's just euphoric.
You wrote an opinion piece calling on all the stakeholders to come together. What precipitated and motivated you to do this?
I feel that there's a lot of excitement happening around basketball all over Africa, especially with the launch of the BAL. And basketball here in South Africa remains just a potential and not really living up to its potential. So it was just one of those things to try and inspire not only, corporate society in South Africa, but players, officials, or anybody that is interested in the sport to really just rally behind this big event and see if this could have some sort of long-term effect for South African basketball, so that it's just not one of those, the event comes and goes and basketball in South Africa remains the same. It really just has to inspire some growth, especially at grassroots level, infrastructure, trying to get the basketball growing again like it was in the 90s.
After what seems to have been the spectacular rise and now the unfortunate fall of Cape Town Tigers, how much of a reality is that actually, that we can make the game sustainable in the country?
Cape Town Tigers was a special case. There was a lot of investment put behind the team. Obviously, Ra at the time had a vision. He obviously rallied some shareholders to put money behind it. I believe it was in the tune of about $2 million. That's a lot of money to just run one club. That kind of money is almost impossible to raise with South Africans unless there are some people out there who believe in the sport and believe in the future, and they can put that kind of money behind various teams and not just one team. At the end of it all, if it's just one team with that kind of investment behind it, you find that, the excitement is only as good as the investment and the sustainability of that particular one club. This thing has to be a South African thing. It has to be investment across various clubs so that the competition can rise to the level that will get any team that comes out of South Africa to compete at the BAL level.
What has been the challenges? You mentioned the glory days of the 90s for basketball in the country. What happened since then? Where did it all go wrong?
Hey, there's a lot, Valen. There's a lot to talk about, but it comes down to leadership. If you don't have the leaders with the vision that will get basketball where it should be, everything else crumbles under it. So I believe that with great leadership right at the highest and support, obviously, from government, it's a political decision to support basketball. That for me is really what may have killed it, but also bad PR. Obviously, there's things that happen in whether it's a company, a sport, or whatever the case may be, and the bad PR that came behind it just also added to it all. And this, for me, writing this was really just to see how we can move away from the bad PR, talk about the excitement and the potential and the fact that the kids love it. I mean, where there are facilities, the kids are playing, and unfortunately, there's no infrastructure, there's no grassroots level development. And if it's there, it's not marketed well enough for people to see the potential of partnering basketball. So for me, the opinion piece was really to try and showcase that, you know what, there is basketball in this country. It's being played in various schools. Most of the schools that are playing are private schools because they have the facilities, but there has to be government investment behind the facilities in the grassroots, especially the public schools in the townships, because back in the day, the stars came from the townships and not only from the private institutions or private schools.
What is your call then, other than to government, to reprioritize the game of basketball?
So I believe that basketball needs a whole revamp. I mean, we've been for the last 25, 30 years, we've been complaining about the same things over and over again. And everybody else just attach themselves to the constitution that doesn't seem to work for everybody. There seems to be a tug of war between the practicality of what really can work for basketball versus the political element of it, to say, well, this is how you get to be elected to be the leader in basketball. But unfortunately, if you get elected, but you just don't know how to get basketball to attract sponsors, to market it, to push or at least engage government in development basketball, you're not going to get far. So what I believe basketball needs, and also the thing about volunteerism. I mean, we've been running on volunteerism even at national level. No one is getting paid to run the federation. Now you can imagine people have their own jobs to worry about and their families, and they still have to do this thing on the side. And anything that you give 5% to, you're only going to get 5% back. So there really has to be some sort of a correlated initiative to try and bring the people who know how to market, people who know how to lead, the government, private sector, to just say, if the NBA has done it in America and EuroLeague has done it, and now we're seeing the BAL in the rest of Africa, and the government has really supported basketball in the likes of Rwanda, Senegal, Angola. What is it that we are lacking? And it really is a government decision to say, we want to make basketball work, but let's put the right leadership in place.
After the Cape Town Tigers made the semi-finals, we saw South African players, some Kelo Cele, getting an opportunity to go and play in the NBA Summer League, a fantastic opportunity for him. So it certainly will be sad if we don't see a South African team participating in the BAL finals when they're actually hosted by South Africa. Cabby Magongwa, thank you very much for chatting to us here on Newzroom Afrika. He is the Johannesburg Basketball Association president, and that's how we conclude your sports in this hour. Your headlines are next. Do stay with us.